I don't know about you, but I've never really seen the need to buy the newest cameras. Megapixel counts don't really inspire me, and I care more about the character of a camera and the colours and tones that a sensor produces over how sharp an image can be or how many autofocus points a system can have. I mainly shoot on films, so what I really want from a digital camera is something that allows me to mimic that workflow and also create a similar aesthetic. The two main digital cameras that I use for photography are the Canon 5D Classic and the Olympus EP2. Both cameras have a 12 megapixel sensor, albeit very different sizes, and I'm not sure whether I'm just easy to please, but for me, this is more than enough to capture compelling images with plenty of detail, and there's definitely something magical about these old style sensors and the way they render images. The Canon 5D Classic has been my main digital camera for a very long time, and I picked up the Olympus EP2 a few years ago because I wanted a small mirrorless camera with interchangeable lenses that I could take everywhere with me. After initially being quite disappointed with some of the more modern APS-C options from the likes of Fuji and Sony, I opted for Micro Four Thirds and completely fell in love with the colour science of Olympus's older cameras. After using this camera for a while, I've also become a huge fan of using the 4/3 aspect ratio to shoot with. The Olympus EP2 was released in 2009 and the Canon 5D Classic was released in 2005. Both cameras are well over 10 years old, and yet I'm always amazed at the quality of the images they produce. The Micro Four Thirds sensor from the Olympus produces film-like textures when exposed properly, and the full-frame sensor from the Canon produces so much detail, even compared with modern digital cameras. It seems like nowadays modern digital cameras are crammed with so many features that most of the work is actually done for you. For me, the character of a camera defines how much I actually want to use it, and I'd much rather focus on the process of actually making photos rather than navigating through complicated menu systems or constantly looking at the back of a screen to review my photos. The 5D is a dedicated stills camera with a very simplistic menu system and a tiny LCD screen on the back to look at photos. It's designed with a single purpose of capturing photos, and it does this really well. Both the Olympus and the Canon have a pretty loud shutter slap when taking photos, which isn't the most discreet, but it reminds me I'm using an actual camera, and in a time when most people take photos on their phones, it makes the process a lot more organic, and I choose this over an electronic shutter every time. It's no surprise that cameras depreciate in value as time goes on, and I think this creates an amazing opportunity to pick up some amazing cameras at a fraction of their original price. I bought the Olympus EP2 for £40 on eBay and the Canon 5D Classic for around £220. In a time when modern digital cameras are costing up to £2,000 for the body only, this is a huge benefit, and it frees up a lot of funds that can be reinvested into a solid lens selection, which I tend to think is far more important. Which brings me on to the fourth reason, lens selection. Purchasing an older camera usually opens up the door to a wide selection of lenses that were originally built to complement these older systems. The EF mount was originally designed for use with Canon's line of film cameras, and second-hand lenses can be picked up for a fraction of their original price. Likewise, the Micro Four Thirds mount spans across multiple camera manufacturers and has a large selection of lenses to cover off basically any focal length imaginable. I'm a big fan of both the 40mm and 50mm focal length, so I tend to keep the nifty 50 glued to my Canon and the Lumix 20mm on the Olympus. Both are sharp lenses with fast apertures and compact designs. The last reason I want to cover off is build quality. Opting for an older camera gives you the chance to pick up what would have originally been a flagship model made for professional use. With many entry-level and even mid-range models having plastic constructions, it's refreshing to use something with a magnesium alloy construction, and it's reassuring to know that you're using a camera that's been built to last. I've used so many cameras over the years, and yet I always come back to using these older models. New tech can definitely be exciting, but I think sometimes we get too bogged down in acquiring the latest and greatest that we forget what really matters, making photos and being creative. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'd love to know your thoughts.